Hey guys, welcome to Maths Recovery with Rebecca. So, in this session, we are going to be starting with equations. So, throughout your schooling career, you guys look at four main types of equations. So, you look at linear, quadratic, exponential, and cubic. So, I'm going to be going through all these four types. But before we even look at those, there is some very important information that we need to look at. So, you have already done simplification. I'm going to laser point here. Simplification is something that starts off in grade 7 where you're just putting like terms together. That's what that is. So, what happens is you guys work with something called BODMAS, brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Some of you might work with PEDMAS, which is parentheses, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. It is the same concept, but what I want you to take from this slide is that when we are simplifying, we work BODMAS from the B all the way to the S. But now, when we work with equations, we work with BODMAS backwards. So we ask ourselves, what causes subtraction? What causes addition? What causes multiplication? What causes division? What causes brackets? Well, we kind of like work with S, A, M, and D, the O and the B. We'll see if we come across things that causes an of sum. Remember, of sum is multiplication. So we'll look at that when we get there. Okay. So the wording I'm using, what causes addition, what causes subtraction, is something called an inverse. So we are going to be isolating variables. So remember when I say isolating variables, I'm talking about the variable which is the x or y, the unknown that you are solving for. That is going to be isolated, being put by itself on the one side, which means everything else has to be somehow moved over the equal sign to isolate the variable. And when we move over an equal sign, we cause an operation to change to its inverse. So this table is very important. The operation for addition, when it's moved over, it subtracts. So what causes subtraction? Well, addition. What causes addition? Subtraction. What causes division? Multiplication. What causes multiplication? Division. And what causes squaring or anything, what causes a power to occur? Well, it's root. So this is what I'm trying to say. When you move a plus over an equal sign, it becomes its inverse. Any operation when moved over. So let's take a look. So, linear equations. The method behind this one is you need to try and get all the variables or the letters to the one side and the numbers to the other side. Now, how do we recognize? Because when we started this session, I said that you get linear, quadratic, exponential, cubic. How are you able to recognize the difference between the four of these types of equations? Well, with linear, none of the variables have any exponents, which means the degree is 1. And we looked at that when we were looking at factorizing. The degree is 1. Okay, so let's take a look. Easy level grade 7. Now, in grade 7, you start off with something called inspection. Now, inspection is something that you've been doing since the younger grades when they ask you, what must x be so that when I add 3, I'm going to get 14? So let's think about this. What must I add to x so that when I add 3, I get 14? Well, that's easy. I need to add 11 to x. So that means x is equal to 11. Now, when you get to the higher grades, we don't do inspection anymore. we do solving. So we are now going to solve for x, which means we need to isolate the x by itself on the one side. And when we isolate, we take everything that isn't the x over to the other side, but we use inverse BODMAS. So is there anything that when I move over the equal sign, it is going to subtract? Well, yes. When I move a plus over the equal sign, it is going to subtract, which means x is just going to be 14 subtract 3, 11. So now let's look at a little bit higher. Okay, so remember, there's quite a lot going on here. Letters to one side and numbers to the other side. Let's look at our inverse operation table over there. Now, this x is already on the one side. This x is already on the one side. Let's go and move this variable of x over to its friends. Now, if I move this over to this side, it's minusing on the one side, so on the other side it's going to add. And the same thing as this 3. We're going to move it over to the side of the numbers, but when I move it over, it is subtracting on the one side, so it will add on the other side. So let's take a look. So I've got this x still plus the x that was already there. So these are those two x's there. I've moved this x that's on the right hand side over and it becomes a plus x. Got this minus 15 and I'm going to move this minus 3 over and it becomes a plus 3. Now I'm just going to simplify because I have all the letters on the left and all the numbers on the right. So that means, remember there's a magical 1 here in front, so 1 plus 1 plus 1, and all my variables are the same. They have the same power of 1. Put them all together, I'm going to get 3x minus 15 plus 3 is just going to be a minus 12. Now, what is happening between this 3 and this x? Well, a multiplication. Now remember, the whole point is to isolate the x by itself, meaning that 3 needs to go over to the other side. But it's being multiplied on this side. So when I move it over to over the equal sign, what is the inverse of multiplication? Well, it's divide. So I'm going to divide by 3. And when I divide by 3, what is minus 12 divided by 3? That's going to give me minus 4. And there we go. I have isolated the x on the one side. You can always go and check your answer by substitution. If you put that minus 4 back into all the x's on the side, you will get the same answer as if you put that minus 4 in here on the side. Let's look at the next one. Okay. So, power of 1, linear equation. Letters to the one side, numbers to the other side. So I like to keep my letters on the left. It's just a habit that I've gotten. So I'm going to move this minus 2 over and it's going to add. And then I'm going to move this plus 3 over to that side and it's going to subtract. Inverse operation. So I'm going to get 2x plus 2x is equal to minus 9. That's this guy that was over here. Minus 3. So I've got my letters on the left and my numbers on the right. Now I'm going to simplify and I get 4x is equal to minus 9 minus 3 is minus 12. And then remember, that's being multiplied. So the inverse operation of multiplication is just division. So x is going to be a minus 3. And if you continuously use BODMAS, because you've already learnt it, if you use it backwards and you ask yourself, what must I do? What causes subtraction? Do that first. What causes addition? Do that first or do that second. what causes multiplication, do that third, you will see that you automatically know that you can't just go and first divide by 2 or times by 2. Because I can tell you now, there's going to be some of you that go and take this 2 and take it over. Let me put this the laser pointer. You take this 2 that's over here and you take it over because you think, let me divide this side by 2. But what about the 3? You can't do that. But if you use BODMAS backwards, you will always get the correct answer. Okay. So let's look at one more example. Now this example includes brackets. So we are going to have to use distribution. So now the problem here is you would ask yourself when, or here's it over here. What causes subtraction? What causes addition? What causes multiplication? Problem comes in here. You've got variables as well as constants stuck in this bracket on the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side, and you're not able to actually move anything over the equal sign. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to distribute this -5 in here and this -1 in on this side and see what you get. So we're going to get a 3x minus a 5. That's supposed to be a 10x. Let's go. Minus a 10x plus a 5 is going to be 17 minus 3x plus 2. Now, remember, letters to the one side, numbers to the other side. So I've only got this -3 sitting on this side, so I'm going to move it over. So it's going to become 3x minus 10x plus 3x is equal to 17 plus 2. Move this 5 over, minus 5. I'm going to look at a 3x minus a 10x plus a 3x is going to leave me with a minus 4x. 19 minus 5 is a 14. Here is a multiplication. Move it over, divide it. So x is going to leave you with a negative 14 divided by 4 is a 7 over 2. So we want to keep it as an improper fraction. Okay, well, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to my channel so that you can get more videos like this. And then go and add to the comments any more questions that you would like me to do or videos that you would like me to do. Yeah, have a great day.